Hi, this is Corey Franklin with Remembrances of People Past, stories about people who've died recently who made a significant impact on history or society. And tonight we're going to start out with Harmon Killebrew, the most feared senator in Washington. Harmon Killebrew was one of the best baseball players of his generation. He played for the Washington Senators, and then when they moved to Minneapolis, the Minnesota Twins. It's safe to say if you grew up in Minnesota or Washington, D.C. in the 50s, 60s, or 70s, Harmon Killebrew was a legend. Harmon Killebrew died recently, but he will be known as a home run hitter. He hit a lot of home runs, and he hit a lot of long home runs. His lifetime total of 573 home runs was the most by a right-handed hitter in history until it was recently broken by Alex Rodriguez. Next to Babe Ruth, his total is the most ever by an American leaguer until second place was taken over by Alex Rodriguez. Harmon Killebrew hit the longest home runs in at least 3 stadiums. And he's the answer to the trivia question, who hit the most home runs in the decade of the 1960s? Listeners to this show will know that the answer to who hit the most home runs in the decade of the 1950s was Duke Snider, who we did a couple months ago. Killebrew wasn't a flashy player, but his nickname was the Killer. And because he was only 5'10" and about 215 pounds, actually a little heavier later in his career, pitchers called him the Fat Kid. But they didn't call him the Fat Kid out of derision. They called him out of respect, because he hit so many home runs off of so many of them. When he was with the Senators, they weren't a very good team, and it's been said that he was the guy who actually kept the Senators franchise alive. When the Senators moved to Minneapolis to become the Twins, it was he who started packing the parks with his long home runs. Primarily played third base. He was on 11 All-Star teams. He was the 1969 Most Valuable Player, and he made the Hall of Fame in 1984. Some people believe, and it may be true, that he is the model for the Major League Baseball logo. There's some controversy about that. They would never admit it even if he was, because they would have to pay him royalties. In Minneapolis, outside the Mall of America, there is a road called Harmon Killebrew Way in his honor. Besides all that, he was one of the acknowledged gentlemen of baseball. I want to listen to a little of his story telling about how he came up in the early 50s. And in the early 50s in baseball, there wasn't the money or the publicity there is today, and a lot of great players were discovered either by accident or by luck. Here's Harmon Killebrew talking about how he came through.
I grew up in a small town in Idaho, and I had graduated from high school, and I had actually accepted a scholarship to play football and baseball at the University of Oregon. In those days, they weren't giving many scholarships for baseball, and I was going to have to play football and baseball to get my college education. We had a United States Senator in my hometown of Payette, Idaho, and he used to go to the ballpark in Washington, and he became friends with Clark Griffith, who owned the Washington Ball Club, and he kept going out to Griffith Stadium and telling Mr. Griffith about this kid in Idaho he thought could help the Senators win some games. They weren't winning many games in those days. In fact, they used to call him first in war, first in peace, and last in the American League. I think more than anything else, just to keep Senator Walker quiet, Mr. Griffith sent out Ossie Bluegee, who was a farm director at the old Washington Club. The night that he showed up in Payette, it was a rainy day, and didn't look like we were going to play the ball game. And that night, the skies cleared, and the townspeople, finding out there was a Major League scout there, got the field in order. They burned gasoline on the field. I guess they wouldn't do that today. And got it in order. And I'd been going to that ballpark since I was a little kid, and had never seen anyone hit one over the left field fence. And that night, I happened to hit one over the left field fence. Mr. Bluegee went out the next morning, stepped it off, and he said it was 435 feet. And he thought that was a pretty good hit for a 17-year-old kid. So he called Mr. Griffith. He said, I think we should try to sign this kid. I had to make a decision there, which way to go. Like Yogi Berra says, when you come to a fork in the road, take it. I wanted to play baseball. It was a 3-year contract, a total of $10,000 a year for 3 years. The minimum salary was $6,000. The bonus was $4,000 a year, which made me a bonus player and meant that I'd have to stay with the club for 2 years. But at 17, I could go directly to the major league.
It didn't take him long to make an impact with the hapless Washington Senators.
Harmon Killebrew, the killer from Washington Senators. Let's see what Harmon Killebrew does here in the top half of the 7th inning. Killebrew up there determined. High fly ball deep to left. It's going, it is gone in fair territory. A home run. Man, he didn't take long to whack that one.
As I mentioned before, Harmon Killebrew kept the Washington franchise alive for a while but in 1961 they moved to Minnesota and became the Twins.
Well, when the old Washington Senators moved to Minnesota and became the Twins, we were just starting to become a good ball club when we moved up here. And we had some young players coming up, like Tony Oliva was coming along. Jim Cott was with us, Camilo Pascual.
With the Twins, Harmon Killebrew is a perennial all-star. Here he is hitting a home run in the All-Star game. The call is by Kurt Gowdy.
Harmon Killebrew now will be hitting the Norm Cash's spot. Killebrew looking down at Billy Hunter, the third base coach, looking to see if he's going to have K-line moving. There it goes. There's a long belt to deep left. That is up. The Killer.
He got to the World Series once in 1965. The Twins lost in 7 games to Sandy Koufax. That's the famous World Series where Sandy Koufax did not pitch on Yom Kippur, but he threw 2 shutouts against the Twins. As I mentioned before, Killebrew had a splendid career and was elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1984. Here's a little bit of the ceremony.
And now to our final new member of the Hall of Fame. Ironically, for a man of such very impeccable character, they called him Killer. This, of course, for his awesome and terrorizing effect on American League pitchers. His name is Harmon Killebrew.
I'm thankful to be honored in such a special way by a group of individuals that do an outstanding job, the Baseball Writers of America. Thank you for honoring me. I'm thankful to the Baseball Hall of Fame for this opportunity of being here.
After his career, Harmon Killebrew started a charity for children to play baseball.
The charity that we're now involved with is the Miracle League. And we're building miracle fields for kids that have physical and mental disabilities. It's just a wonderful thing. And you should see the smiles on their face when they play on the field. We think every kid, no matter who they are, deserves a chance to play baseball. And I try to do things that involve kids. And it just seemed to be a natural for me because of the baseball side of it. The main thing is just to have fun playing baseball. And we're not trying to make professional athletes out of everybody, but I think that the many things that they can learn from not just baseball, but all athletics is important. And you have to develop a winning attitude in life. So I think that that's what all sports teach you to do.
Here he reflects back on his career.
I just enjoyed going on the field, putting the major league uniform on and playing every day. I guess I was kind of nuts because I like playing doubleheaders and I like playing baseball. Every day going on the field to me was exciting. I did what I wanted to do. I'd probably do the same thing again. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed all of it. The last couple of years I played, my knees were giving me so much trouble, and I had to quit. But I'm happy that I was able to stay with the Twins.
Well, he was a modest man, as you can tell, and he tells one final story that was emblematic of Harmon Killebrew and emblematic of athletes in general, especially those who are modest.
The last year I was playing with the Royals, I was signing some autographs around the dugout in Anaheim, and there was a big kid and a little kid there, and signing the ball for a big kid, and I saw the little kid next to him punch him, and he said to him, "Who is that guy?" And the big kid said, "That's Killebrew." And the little kid said, "Is he any good?" And the big kid turned to him and said, "He used to be."
Harmon Killebrew used to be very, very good, and we're going to miss the killer. We're going to move on now to Horace Judson, and Horace Judson was one of the top historians of science. He wrote a book in 1979 called The Eighth Day of Creation, and that's regarded as one of the seminal books about the development of molecular biology in the 20th century. That's not the reason Mr. Judson gets his mention here tonight. For whatever work he did in the history of science, Mr. Judson will be remembered far more for a brief 5-minute interview he did. Long before he started writing about science, he was a reporter for Time magazine. And in 1965, he was in Great Britain, and he was interviewing Bob Dylan. The interview was caught on film in D.A. Pennebaker's movie Don't Look Back. Dylan was on his first tour of Great Britain. He was acting particularly feisty, and he jumped on an unsuspecting Mr. Judson unprovoked.
Are you going to see the concert tonight? Are you going to hear it? Okay, you hear it and see it, and it's going to happen fast, and you're not going to get it all, and you might even hear the wrong words. you know. And then afterwards, I won't be able to talk to you afterwards. I got nothing to say about these things I write. I mean, I just write them. I don't have to say anything about them. I don't write them for any reason. There's no great message. I mean, if you want to tell other people that, go ahead and tell them. But I'm not going to have to answer to it. And they're just going to think, what's this Time magazine telling us? But you couldn't care less about that either. You don't know the people that read you. Because, I've never been in Time magazine, and yet this hall is filled twice. And I've never been in Time magazine. I don't need Time magazine. And I don't think I'm a folk singer. You'll probably call me a folk singer, but, the other people know better. Because the people that buy my records listen to me don't necessarily read Time magazine. The audience that subscribes to Time magazine, the audience of the people that want to know what's happening in the world week by week, the people that work during the day and can read it. It's small, right, and it's concise, and there's pictures in it. I mean, those kind of, a certain class of people. It's a class of people that take the magazine seriously. I mean, sure, I can read it, and I read it on the airplanes, but I don't take it seriously. If I want to find out anything, I'm not going to read Time magazine. I'm not going to read Newsweek. I'm not going to read any of these magazines. I mean, because they just got too much to lose by printing the truth. You know that.
What kinds of truth do they?
On anything, even on a worldwide basis. They just go off the stands in a day if they printed really the truth.
What is really the truth?
Really the truth is just a plain picture. Of a plain picture of let's say a tramp vomiting, man, into the sewer, and next door to the picture, Mr. Rockefeller or Mr. C.W. Jones, on the subway going to work. Any kind of picture. Just make some sort of collage of pictures, which they don't do. There's no ideas in Time magazine. There's just these facts. Which too are such, because even the article on what you're doing, the way it's going to come out, don't you see, it can't be a good article, because the guy that's writing the article is sitting in a desk in New York. He is not even going out of his office. He's just going to get all these 15 reporters, and they're going to send him a quota. He's going to put himself on. He's going to put all his readers on, and another week will be have some space in the magazine. But that's all. It means nothing to anybody else. I'm not putting that down, because people have got to eat and live, But let's at least be honest about it. I mean, sure. I know more about what you do, and you don't even have to ask me how or why or anything, just by looking, Then you'll ever know about me, ever. I mean, I could tell you, I'm not a folk singer, and explain to you why, but you wouldn't really understand. All you could do, you could nod your head. You would nod your head. No, I couldn't even be willing to try, because it would be, there's certain things which, every word has its little letter and big letter. No, it's not pigeonhole. It's not the word at all. Every word has its little letter and big letter, like the word no. The word no, K-N-O-W. Okay, the word no, capital K-N-O-W. Like, each of us really knows nothing. Right? But we all think we know things. Right? We really know nothing. I mean,
you're saying you know more about what I do.
No, I'm saying that you're gonna die. You're gonna go off the earth. You're gonna be dead. Man, it could be 20 years. It could be tomorrow. Anytime. So am I. I mean, it's gonna be gone. The world's gonna go on without us. All right. Now you do your job in the face of that, and how seriously you take yourself. You decide for yourself. Okay. Now I'll decide for myself. Now, you're not going to make me feel unhappy by anything you print about me or anything, or anything like that. I just can't. It couldn't, you couldn't offend me, and I'm sure, I couldn't offend you. So, all I can hope for you to do is, all your ideas in your own head, somehow, wherever they are.
Do you care about what you're saying?
How can I answer that if you got the nerve to ask me?
Then you go,
I mean, you got a lot of nerve asking me a question like that. Do you ask the Beatles that?
I have to ask you that, because you have the nerve to question whether I care.
I'm not questioning you, because I don't expect any answer from you.
Well, as I said before, when we did the show on Susie Rottola, Bob Dylan's first girlfriend in Greenwich Village, Bob Dylan wasn't always a nice guy. And I think that little bit of ego display there was emblematic of what I'm talking about. To Mr. Judson's credit, he took it all with equanimity. He thought the whole thing was staged for film. And he said, that evening I went to the concert. My opinion then and now was that the music was unpleasant, the lyrics inflated, and Dylan a self-indulgent whining show-off. So Mr. Judson didn't live another 20 years, as Dylan postulated. He lived another 46 years. And I'm going to give him credit for not being one of those journalists who bend from the ankles to Bob Dylan. In its own way, it was a superb interview by Mr. Judson because it revealed its subject very, very well. I'm going to do a brief close tonight with a lady named Norma Zimmer. And to introduce Norma Zimmer, I'm going to use Lawrence Welk.
Our lovely champagne lady, Norma Zimmer.
That's right. Norma Zimmer was the Champagne Lady, the lead singer with Lawrence Welk's orchestra. She had a beautiful voice. She sang with Frank Sinatra. She sang with Bing Crosby. Before Lawrence Welk, she sang with a quartet called the Girlfriends, who sang on this Bing Crosby classic.
Every Christmas card I write, may your days be merry and bright, and may all your Christmases be white.
Well, Norma Zimmer sang solos on the Lawrence Welk Show for 22 years. But we're going to close tonight with a song that I didn't realize she was the female voice on. It's a song very well known to Chicagoans, maybe not known in other places in the country, but we had a Christmas television show that used to play every year here, and it featured this song. The song was originally done by Rosemary Clooney in the early 50s, but Norma Zimmer does something here that not too many people can do. She outsings Rosemary Clooney. This was the version from the children's Christmas show that aired every year in Chicago at Christmas time. I want to thank my producer Sid Tepps, and here is Susie Snowflake, done by the Norman Luboff Choir, led by the beautiful voice of Norma Zimmer. Norma, we will miss you. This one is dedicated to my wife Susie, by the way.
I'm coming. Here comes Susie Snowflake, dressed in a snow white gown. Tap, tap, tapping on your window pane to tell you she's in town. Ooh, here comes Susie Snowflake, soon you will hear her say, come on everyone and play with me, I haven't long to stay. If you want to make a snowman, I'll help you make one, 1, 2, 3. If you want to take a sleigh ride, ride on me. Here comes Susie Snowflake, look at her tumbling down, bringing joy to every girl and boy. Susie's come to town. Susie's coming, here comes Susie Snowflake, dressed in a snow white gown. Tap, tap, tapping on your window pane to tell you she's in town. Ooh, here comes Susie Snowflake, soon you will hear her say, come on everyone and play with me, I haven't long to stay. If you want to make a snowman, I'll help you make one, 1, 2, 3. If you want to take a sleigh ride, ride on me. Here comes Susie Snowflake, look at her tumbling down, bringing joy to every girl and boy. Susie's come to